Welcome to this latest emerging threats group video. In this video we're going to cover something that has been in the news a lot recently, and that is the situation in the Persian Gulf, notably Iran and having a bit of a confrontation with US coalition forces there. So we have made a scenario here set on the 1st of August 2023, and it's going to be in the Straits of Hormuz, and we are going to have US-led coalition forces versus Iranian forces in that area of operations. The aim is to test the ability of US coalition forces against Iranian swarming fast attack craft and anti-ship missiles, as well as unmanned aerial systems. We'll mostly be using assets that we know are in theatre, but also those that could well be surged to the theatre. And we're going to be mostly using realistic units, but we are going to throw the odd, more futuristic one in there as well. So in terms of units, we do have multiple ships from the US coming in from the Indian Ocean, which has got the majority of probably our firepower realistically. And then they also have aircraft on board, including F-35 Bravos of the US Marine Corps. We also have manned and unmanned rotary wing aircraft. We have one unmanned Orca submarine leading the way. And then in this part of the Straits of Hormuz, we do have our combined US-UK task force, including an LCS, a DDG, and a UK frigate. We do have some aircraft on board of those. Then this surface action group has two tankers that we're trying to escort through, as well as a French ship and also a Royal Saudi Navy ship. Slightly further to the north of them, we have another tanker, as well as an Italian ship and an Australian ship. All of those do have aircraft on board. Then we have a mixed UK-US minesweeping group here, as well as the UK ship Cardigan Bay. We have fitted this with some surface-launched brimstones, more just to see how they work. I'm not entirely sure this ship could carry them, even if we wanted them to in real life. But we are curious to see how the surface-launched brimstones work. They do also have some unmanned aircraft on board. Coming down to Minad Air Force Base, we have a mixture of UK and Australian assets. At Al Dhafar Air Base, we have multiple US squadrons, including F-35s, F-16s, and A-10s. Moving over to Al Udeid Air Base, we do have a few more US assets, mostly tankers, but also an AC-130J gunship, which does have a laser weapon on board, as well as a Globemaster, one of which is fitted with Rapid Dragon technology. At Bahrain International Airport, we have 4 US Navy Poseidons, and at Duran, we have F-22 Raptors, F-15E Strike Eagles, and we also have some Saudi aircraft, including their advanced F-15s and Tornadoes. Moving slightly further inland, we do have some more Saudi aircraft, but these are all support aircraft, just tankers and ELINT and AEW aircraft. Operating out of Ali Al Salem Air Base, all those aircraft are currently airborne and already in the area of operations. We have a few MQ-9s, both Alpha and Bravo models. In terms of the Iranian forces, the Iranians have multiple ships. I'm talking they must have over about 120, if not closer to 150 fast attack craft. And they do also have some slightly bigger vessels, such as frigates, and several ships that were believed to be merchant vessels at one point, but have now been converted into ships that their military now use. They also have up to 6 submarines operating in the Straits of Hormuz as well. In terms of aircraft, they don't have quite as many of these as the coalition has, but they do have their new flankers. They also have some older fencers and fitters, and they have their F-5 F Tiger copies, MiG-29 Fulcrums, Tomcats, Phantoms, and some other older technology like Sea Kings and other helicopters. They do also have some pretty brand new for their kind of technology, like indigenous UCAVs and UAVs, as well as SAMs and various SSM batteries, including a few anti-ship ballistic missiles. The weather is generally pretty good, and we are going to crack on with this because this will probably be one of the longer scenarios. So as you can see, the amount of Iranian vessels that have spawned here, there are dozens of them out in the Straits of Hormuz. We're kind of running this as if Iran has declared a exclusion zone all in this area. So therefore, the only vessels that are allowed through are ones that basically Iran have allowed through, and they may even board those vessels to confirm they're not, you know, running their blockade with American cargo or Israeli cargo or American or Israeli crew members on board. Obviously, that is a big flashpoint for the West, especially the US. They do have multiple forces in the region to stop Iran from trying to do this and pull this kind of stunt. And we do have our CTF 150.1, which does consist mostly of forces that we know are in the region or have been sent to the region due to the escalating tensions. We do also have some other ships there that are part of CTF 150, and these will be clearing the Strait of Hormuz from the western side, whereas the Gator Navy will be clearing it from the western side. Correction, the eastern side. As you can see, we have plenty of aircraft getting airborne, and we have quite a few aircraft already airborne. Iran does have some MiG-29s that they've just scrambled in, and there are quite a few UCAVs and helicopters scrambling as well to meet our forces. We do believe that the West, or the US-led coalition, would likely operate under restricted rules of engagement, i.e. we can't imagine that the West would probably fire first. It does mean Iran will probably get the chance to to take the initiative and be able to set the parameters for the opening shots of the war. But what we have done is we have got plenty of US-led coalition forces ready to scramble immediately should hostilities break out. Another thing that's worth taking into account is the fact that Iran will get a lot of vessels out into the Straits of Hormuz, many armed with torpedoes, missiles, mostly surface-to-surface, but maybe even a few surface-to-air. They do have plenty of surface-to-surface missile batteries that can cover this entire area, and we haven't put mines over the whole area because we do think Iran will probably want to allow some vessels through, but in this case they've mined the coastline closest to the UAE, so that coalition forces will have to come closer to the Iranian coastline, and therefore into their overlapping fields of fire. As you can see here, our surface action group is leading the way, and there are plenty of Iranian fast attack boats there to meet them. In reality right now, Iran would probably be broadcasting all kinds of signals and maybe even attempting to fire warning shots or attempting to ram some of the coalition forces, and likewise the US and coalition forces may well reply with warning shots and other kind of tactics to hopefully try and put Iran off. After all, no one really wants this kind of war to break out, because oil prices will absolutely skyrocket, and they've already not exactly been low recently due to the war in Ukraine. As you can see here, hostilities have broken out. We can try to see who actually caused that. It does actually look like the coalition forces may have declared war first. However, it is possible Iran did fire on one of the coalition forces. As you can see, the amount of missiles that are already fired is absolutely incredible, realistically. It looks like we've already lost I think that's an F-16. It could even be an F-35. I can find out. Yeah, it wasn't an F-35 shot down. It was obviously too close to an Iranian aircraft or SAM system the moment the conflict broke out. As you can see here, there are a lot of missiles getting fired and vampires are inbound. You do have these kind of Iranian fast attack craft. They look almost like weird aircraft hybrid with almost like a swamp boat, which are very fast. They have a top speed of about 100 knots. It does seem like Brimstones might be able to track them, which is good. As you can see here, there is definitely a lot of fighting breaking out around the coalition ships. We have got it so SAMs will also engage surface targets if they are close enough. But hopefully we should have enough air power that can hopefully sink ships, as well as the SAMs getting used for that purpose, because the SAMs will be needed to intercept the heck of a lot of anti-ship missiles that will be fired at the coalition forces. What we have here are some of our F-16s carrying the decoys. Maybe time to release those. We do have Iranian SA-20 sight. There is only just the one of them, but it is here, and it may even be already firing at our forces. The good thing is we do have some coalition aircraft overhead, in this case F-35s, and they are deploying Stormbreakers against the Iranian SAM sites. They are on a suppression of enemy air defences mission. One of the most useful weapons in this circumstance will likely be the Stormbreaker, small diameter bomb. I mean, the fact the US has actually manufactured quite a few of them, and against these kind of fast attack craft, especially as they're launched from high altitude, the bombs should be able to get enough range and velocity to sink most Iranian light boats. And it shouldn't take much more than one to do it. As you can see, there are a lot of missiles being fired, including Tomahawks. They're going against some of the Iranian land bases. We do have F-16s carrying Hydra rockets. These are like the laser-guided ones. And there's like a Iranian merchant vessel here, which has dozens of, well, it's like a merchant vessel. It's been changing like a spy ship. There are also an Iranian vessel here, which does actually anti-ship missiles on board, and which looks like it has fired them. And you can see the amount of missiles here. Some are going to land targets, some are being used defensively against Iranian missiles that are coming in, and also like drones. So they have some very low speed drones here, which actually might be more difficult to take out than you'd realise. Certainly if radars have speed gates and other kind of things, it might be difficult to detect them. As you can see here, we have some of our futuristic drones up, but mostly we have fairly contemporary weapon systems. We've got Typhoons armed with Brimstones, although we have armed a few, like one pair of Typhoons with Spear Freeze just to see how they do. In fact, what we will do is make it so more of our aircraft get into the game. So currently a lot of our patrols are on 1/3 rule. However, we're now going to switch them to Surge, meaning that our forces should scramble to meet the enemy threat. The only thing we will leave is the combat air patrols on 1/3 rule, just to ensure that we do have round-the-clock coverage against enemy aircraft. So we will already check just to see how the losses and scores are doing. So the coalition have lost 2 aircraft so far, and look how many weapons they've already fired. There's a crazy amount of weaponry which has been fired at the Iranians. But if you look at the Iranian losses, I mean, you might be able to argue that it's worth it. And plenty of those weapons are still in the air and haven't actually found their targets yet. You see here, we've got plenty of SM6s being fired. However, they are being used against what you class as low threat weapons, i.e. drones going about 90 knots. Probably not the smartest use of them. But at the end of the day, a 90 knot drone can still damage your sensors on a ship, even if it doesn't destroy it. See that quite a few Stormbreakers have been launched against these Iranian SSMs on some of their islands. We have got it so US things like Tomahawks probably won't attack Iranian air bases, because we don't, depending on the rules of engagements, we can't see this being an all-out war. It's more likely to be fairly limited as you can be with this many weapons flying around in this kind of region of the world. So it's unlikely that America would directly strike at multiple Iranian airfields or air bases. What we've done is make it so that the bases out on the islands are fair game, as are any Iranian SSM or SAM units, but they're going to leave things like Iranian docks and mainland airports alone. You can see we've got plenty of Tomahawks going in here against some of the Iranian batteries. Looks like one of our submarine is trying to go the wrong direction, so we'll point him back in the right direction. We do have HMS, let me just check which Type 45 it is, HMS Dragon, which is here. I do actually believe she might be in the dry dock at the moment, so maybe putting a UK destroyer in might be a little bit fictional at this point, but we do know the Royal Navy does certainly have a presence in this world, and certainly will always have a Type 23 there, and then which may eventually become a Type 26 when that gets replaced. So we see plenty of Italian 76mm shells are getting unleashed on the Iranian SSMs. And you can already see quite a lot of the Iranian boats in this area have been destroyed. How much damage they've done to some of our ships, I mean, the biggest issue is going to be is how close the Iranian ships can get before hostilities break out. So they did damage one of the Saudi ships here, and also the Italian ships, although both of them are still in the fight. It does also look like a UK minesweeper has also been more severely damaged. One of the biggest issues is these minesweepers don't really have much in the way of defensive weaponry. As you can see, there are incoming missiles coming towards them. So unless any of our fighters or some of our other SAMs shoot them down, there's a good chance that many of those minesweeping vessels will be lost. Heading back over towards the west, you do see more of our weapon systems are making contact with the enemy, both on land and on sea, and also looks like with our Aster SAMs are getting involved, shooting down some of the Iranian anti-ship missiles that are coming in. As you can see, a lot of missiles have been fired. I mean, we don't know for certain how many anti-ship missiles Iran has got. It's probably likely to be several hundred, and I can guarantee it will be several hundred that are fired in this scenario. Some of the Iranian Air Force is now getting involved. You can see they've got Su-35 flankers, the ones that have recently been purchased from Russia. And they also have some of their older craft like F-4 Phantoms and F-14 Tomcats. Looks like we've got some F-35s in the mix of them. They've fired off all their weapon systems and are attempting to get out of there. Look, it looks like the Iranians are firing quite a lot on our electronic warfare decoys. We do have some O-10s at low level, which will hopefully be able to use their cannons and cluster bombs to great effect. Some are also armed with Mavericks and rockets, as well as a lot of our unmanned aircraft that also have those, such as the MQ-8 Charlies. And the F-16s, they've also got a mixture of Mavericks, rockets, and some of them have GBU-54s as well. We know that certainly any conflict over the Straits of Hormuz will likely involve multiple United States unmanned aircraft, remotely piloted air systems like the MQ-9, as well as potentially some more stealthy ones, but we have got some RQ-70s in this, but we don't have any armed stealthy UCAVs really. I do believe that maybe an F-16 was destroyed. And it does also look like we've lost another minesweeping vessel. Yes, 2 F-16s have been destroyed, as well as 2 minesweepers, and also a Royal Navy Wildcat helicopter. The Royal Navy Wildcats, we have fitted them with the Martlet laser-guided missile, which is apparently it is designed for using against swarm targets. It does actually look like these are carrying the Sea Venom instead, which is meant to be used against heavier vessels, but certainly can be used in this circumstance as well. The Wildcat just can't carry quite as many of them. We've got some surface-fired naval strike missiles heading in. Looks like this Mark 13 missile gunboat is likely to get destroyed by it. We are unable to attack Iranian ports in this. They are single unit ports, but again, by the rules of engagement, it is unlikely, certainly in the opening stages of the war, that the US-led coalition forces will be able to strike mainland Iran, except maybe to take out SAM sites and such things. It does look like the Cardigan Bay has been destroyed by those anti-ship missiles that were coming in. I don't even know if it got to fire any of its surface-launched brimstones off in the end. But yes, it also looks like several unmanned aircraft were destroyed with that. It is likely that should a conflict break out, especially if it's on Iran's terms, that coalition forces will take casualties, but they should also have enough firepower to re-wrestle the initiative back off Iran. We do also know that China had managed to broker some kind of uneasy peace between Iran and Saudi Arabia recently. However, we do believe if Iran does declare the Strait of Hormuz their own territory and de facto blockade it, it would likely bring Saudi forces into conflict with Iran, And we have simulated that with Saudi Tornadoes, Eagles and other assets. Whether or not they would, commit all their forces, or whether just a piecemeal approach is unknown at this time. As you can see here, we have some A-10s armed with Maverick missiles, rockets, and also carrying 500-pound bombs. How much of the use those will be against small vessels, I don't know, but it is part of the loadout. As you can see how unmanned and manned helicopters are getting involved here. And there are plenty of Iranian air-to-air missiles coming in from the Phantoms, and more likely the Tomcats and Flankers. The Sparrows carried by the F4s probably rather outdated in terms of modern technology, how much use they'd be. They're certainly only semi-active radar homing, meaning they're Fox 1 missiles, so the firing aircraft literally has to keep its nose or its radar pointed at the target at all times. Even just a break in that will lead to the missile going astray. However, some of the missiles carried by the F-14s and Flankers, they are Fox 3 weapons, active radar homing, and don't have that limitation. So the Iranians have fired some missiles at some of their helicopters. They are all dashing away from those missiles to try and survive. It also does look like one of the Iranian Tomcats is trying to shoot down a Stormbreaker there. So these missiles are coming in fairly quickly and at fairly low level. They are now entering SAM range though, so hopefully we'll see some Sea Scepters fired against it. That's one thing, is we don't have an awful lot of SAMs on our vessels, certainly not on the ones on the western side of the Strait of Hormuz. So they are going to have to rely heavily on air power to also keep the Iranian missiles off of them. As you can see, they're now just down to 11 Sea Scepters and 6 Sea-Ram missiles. And the Sea-Ram really does have a short range. That is basically the missile version of a Sea Whiz. As you can see here, our CTF 150.1 does have far more missiles, certainly in terms of Sea-Rams. It also has enhanced Sea Sparrows and the older Sea Sparrows, and the Aster 15s as well. Most of the more longer range SAMs have already been fired, but it does still have enough SAM to hopefully keep it safe. It does also look like our Saudi ship still at least has some missiles on board as well. And also a few are also on our Australian and Italian ships. And we are glad that the Eastern Force does have more weapons, well, more SAMs, because there are a lot of missiles heading its way. So we have just lost one of our drones, but again, no one's going to lose too much sleep over a drone getting destroyed. Although the Saudis may also have lost an F-15 there, may have been a tornado. Yes, looks like 2 tornadoes have been shot down, and also an F-15 Echo Strike Eagle must have been shot down as well. And the Iranians do have some fairly decent SAM systems. How good they are, we don't know. But what we do know is that they can certainly put them up against their coastline, and the chances are the range will reach out from their coastlines up until over like countries like the United Arab Emirates, and well into like the Persian Gulf area, certainly as well from further up the coastline. So one of our Protector or Reaper UAVs was shot down. It was the Reaper. Again, Iran has been known to shoot down American drones such as the RQ-4 Triton a few years ago, and they have conducted what you may class as unsafe intercepts against US drones over the Strait of Hormuz. There's that story of a Iranian Phantom apparently attempting to disrupt, or at least interfere with the flight path of a US MQ-1 or MQ-9 drone, I can't remember exactly which, and then there was a Raptor that came in and basically surprised the hell out of the Iranian aircraft until he ran away. We do have some Raptors involved in this circumstance. In fact, we may try and get more of them into the air if they're not already there. Yep. Scramble another pair of them. I thought I turned off the 1/3 rule on some of our assets, but apparently not. Hopefully some more of our aircraft will get into the fight now. As you can see, although we have destroyed quite a lot of Iranian equipment, they do have plenty of drones and ships still in the fight. And yep, our losses are starting to mount. Quite a few helicopters have been destroyed, as well as unmanned ones. And a lot of weapon systems have been fired. If you see there how many RIM 66 Mike-5s have been launched, the SM2s, which are they're probably the most advanced semi-active radar homing variant of that missile. Over 100 of them have been fired. And it looks like we also fired some SM3s at the Iranian anti-ship ballistic missiles. I do believe this might be an Iranian anti-radiation missile coming in. In fact, no, that is an air-to-air one that's going after one of our helicopters. There's like one of their drones. Yeah, it looks like they do have some more slow speed weapons that are coming in. Got some A-10s down on the deck, and they've got flankers literally circling above them. With this amount of missiles getting launched on our aircraft and ships, it does mean that a lot of our combat air patrols are being moved out of position. We can try and get a few more into the fight though, try and help out. As you can see, we have some Typhoons here. Some are armed with meteors, and some are armed with brimstones, and we also have a pair armed with spear threes. Time to get our F-16s into the fight. A mixture of those. Some are armed with harms for suppression of enemy air defense duties. Others are armed with anti-surface weaponry to use against Iranian ships and gunboats. Time to get the hogs into the fight. And we'll also launch a few more F-35s for good measure. Well, there's no point in them sitting on the runway when our forces are taking damage. You can see here the Iranians have tried to launch a few more boats, but our aircraft were able to destroy them the moment they were launched, and their A-10s are now coming in to try and finish them off. So the Iranians have got SA-5 sight here. The SA-5 is rather outdated now, but the missiles are huge and do have a long range, meaning that they should be able to take out aircraft well over 100 miles away if they don't have the ability to jam or dodge those missiles. It does look like many of the other SAM sites have already been suppressed here. So yeah, it looks like the SA-20 has been totally destroyed, but some of its subsidiary systems are still next to it, or where it was. Here comes some Iranian SAMs. I said those are probably the SA-5s, but they could be something different. And luckily they weren't able to shoot down our A-10s. Now Saudi Tornadoes have unleashed a barrage of alarm anti-radiation missiles. Of course, the alarm has been retired by the RAF, but we believe it may still be in operation with the Saudi Air Force. And those have heavily damaged what was left of the Iranian SAM systems. We have our Orca unmanned submarine, who did launch some torpedoes over here, but whatever they were firing at must have been sunk. As you can see, we've got more missiles incoming here from some of the Iranian fast attack craft and aircraft. The enhanced Sea Sparrows have gone into action against them. Our flight of helicopters still has one missile left, but not much more than that. Plenty of other aircraft are already on the way home. On one of the tests we did of this, one of our ships did actually get so clogged up that aircraft and helicopters no longer launched, which means that did cause an issue. So we did actually have to rerun the test, and this is the consequence of that. And hopefully this runs better. I know that's the only test where I've ever known it do that. Every other time it's been absolutely fine. So it's very strange that did happen. However, it does seem to be our aircraft don't seem to want to launch as they should right now, which again is unusual. Doesn't usually happen. It might just be because I've messed up a setting somewhere and I'll have to recheck. We can certainly launch some more aircraft into the fight. I'll be able to switch these settings off and back on again. Should maybe fix the issue. Hopefully we should get some more aircraft back into the battle. You can see some of our aircraft is going to have one over unleashed a barrage of Stormbreakers against Iranian surface targets, both land and sea. There goes one of the Reaper drones, or I think that may have been a projector drone that was shot down. So hopefully we can get some more combat air patrol aircraft into the fight. We have some Typhoons getting airborne with their meteors, so they should be able to help out. It's possible an A-10 has been shot down. Yes, one A-10 has been lost. Again, we have lost some manned aircraft, with probably the F-35 being the most high value of those, but mostly it's been unmanned losses, with the odd smaller ship in there, and again just one big ship was destroyed, the Cardigan Bay. If we look at the Iranian losses, you see they're a lot heavier. Plenty of fast attack craft have been destroyed, and several of their aircraft as well, including a MiG-29, as you can see. And also a lot of their land equipment has been bombarded. I'm not sure if we were able to shoot down any flankers. We definitely managed to get a few fences. And 8 fitters as well. 4 Phantoms. Yes, I don't know if we got any Tomcats or flankers though. They might still all be alive. Certainly there's one flanker returning to base. And a few Tomcats and other aircraft here. We have a barrage of Stormbreakers heading straight towards these Iranian ships here. They have plenty of missile gunboats left. Here's one of their expeditionary mobile base ships. And they have a bunch of other smaller, like torpedo boats that have just been launched, as well as some other fast attack craft. As you can see, Iran really does have a variety of these in their Command 1 Operations database, and most likely do in real life as well. Some estimates say 2,000 to 3,000 speedboats, or similar, are in their arsenal. Of course, not all of those will be in the Strait of Hormuz if a fight does break out, and many of them may be down for maintenance if that does happen as well. But it is possible that hundreds of fast attack craft may be used against US-led coalition forces should hostilities commence. We have a few more Iranian flankers over here. One of the good things is that US Marine Corps F-35s do have quite a quick turnaround, so some of those are already getting ready to launch again. There's some of the meteors going in against some of the Iranian UAVs. Because the UAVs are flying at low level, and therefore the meteors and other missiles do bleed speed quite rapidly. It does mean that we have to fire them at quite close range. Hopefully the meteors should still have enough energy to destroy these UCAVs and similar. As you can see, the meteors slowed right down now to under 1,000 knots. But the Iranian drone is only doing about 100 knots, so hopefully it should kill it. No, didn't manage it. However, they did manage to destroy one of the UCAVs. We're trying to get those A-10s out of there. Some more Iranian fast attack craft have just launched. So our helicopters are moving to engage. And we also have some Spear 3s heading in to destroy them. The Spear 3 being the UK replacement for the Brimstone. And it doesn't look too dissimilar from a Stormbreaker, but it does have a motor on board, giving it a longer range. I believe in the command on operation database that it's circa 100 miles. It might even be slightly further. It might be 110 nautical miles. Oh no, it's 80 nautical miles. There we are. Whereas the AGM-179, the American replacement for the Hellfire, actually has quite a short range. It's only about 5 nautical miles. There is a slightly longer range version which has recently been brought out, which almost doubles this range. But I mean, compared to the Brimstone 2, the American missiles do seem to have a very short range. The Brimstone 2 having a range of about 26 nautical miles. Certainly weapons like the Brimstone and the Hellfire longbow, which has got I believe it's a radar on board, which means it doesn't have to use a laser seeker to attack enemy craft. Both of those kind of weapon systems will be invaluable against swarming fast attack craft. Being able just to shoot 1 or 2 ships at a time probably is not going to be good enough to defeat a swarm, regardless of whether that be an Iranian swarm or a Chinese swarm or a different nation, or even a potential terrorist third party. However, it is good to see that we have cleared a lot of the Straits of Hormuz already. Like I say, we have certainly taken losses to get to that point. But Iran's losses are far heavier than ours. At the same time, one American or British sunk surface vessel is probably equal to about 20 or 30 Iranian fast attack craft, maybe not even that, it might even be 50 to 100 you might be able to get for the same price as, say, an Arleigh Burke or a Type 45. A few more of our drones up. One of the things we can do is set them to engage targets outside the patrol zone. I believe, in fact, they're already on that, so hopefully they should start to go and kill some of the aircraft and ships over here. Why on earth our Aussie F-35s have gone down to 0 feet when they've got spoil diameter bombs that need lofting? I don't know. Our Typhoons look like they've descended a bit. They might only have guns now. Let's get them out of here before they could potentially get themselves shot down. That would be rather embarrassing, especially if it was a Phantom that managed it. You can see here we have multiple aircraft and helicopters engaging some of these Iranian fast attack craft. Some of them are actually using their small arms against it, such as machine guns, and some of the missiles are actually now in minimum range, so they can't even use them correctly against them. We have an S-100 UAV, which it is unarmed, so all it does And this is just has its camera system on board, used for iStar. And we have some more Iranian drones coming in. They're flying at about 12,000 feet, but they're only doing about 90 knots. So again, it is entirely possible that modern radars with speed gates on board, so anything maybe under 100 knots gets ignored by the radar software, which could be rather dangerous in this case. Time to see if any more aircraft would like to get airborne right now. We do have certainly more aircraft on the way. And most of those are just combat air patrol type aircraft. We will launch our Rapid Dragon C-17, as well as our gunship though, they can get involved. And we'll send in a squadron of Saudi F-15s as well, or rather a flight of them. As you can see, our F-15EXs are heading back. These were carrying circa 20 JATMs each at the start of the fight, so they've already used those, probably got themselves quite a few air-to-air kills. And if not, certainly shot down quite a few enemy missiles and drones. Some of the HARMs are going in. These are the slightly older model of HARM, but they are going against the SA-5, which is not a mobile system, I don't believe. So I don't think they'll have to worry about that moving. Some of our helicopters trying to engage an Iranian ship with guns. There's not really much point in that of a ship that size. We will send them home, but we will send these drones after it. And our other helicopters. Certainly want that ship sent to the bottom of the ocean sooner rather than later. We do know that Iran has several submarines out, so we do want to try and get our ASW helicopters ahead of the convoy as much as we can. Especially now that we've cleared out a lot of their air defense system. It might actually be worth launching some more ASW helicopters just to be on the safe side. One good thing about the LCS, the Littoral Combat Ship, does have quite a good flight deck on, which means it can carry multiple ASW helicopters, more than quite a few other US ships actually. As well as that, the littoral combat ships do have Hellfire missiles on board, certainly these ones do, which, and again I do believe they are the longbow ones, meaning that they can be ripple fired. Yes, so the active radar seeker, they don't need to be laser designated all the way to the target, which can be useful. Certainly will be good against swarming enemy attack craft. So there's Iranian base over here, we're finally sunk. We have some F-22s coming in, try and get some air-to-air kills. And there's one of our Reapers heading home. He was the one with the medium range Jagams, or however you meant to pronounce them. That is on his way back to base due to being damaged. Wow, Saudi M860. Looks like he's about to unleash some missiles at this Iranian expeditionary mobile base. Plenty of Stormbreakers. Looks like these have all been unleashed against these fast attack craft. Indeed, I believe we haven't actually lost anything for a little while. Oh no, another F-35 was apparently shot down. Not sure what by. No idea what did that. See if we can scroll back and have a look. Looks like it was an Aussie one. It was hit by an Archer. There, that probably makes sense. There's only so much stealth you can try and do to mask against infrared Guardian missiles. I know the F-35 does have some infrared cooling facilities or abilities, but yeah, it's not as extensive as its its stealth capability against radar systems. Indeed, one of the problems is a lot of our aircraft have fired off all their missiles against enemy drones and missiles, meaning if they do encounter a fighter, they're stuck with air-to-surface or ordnance or guns. As you can see here, for some reason they seem to like going low level at the moment as well, which is not ideal. He's also very low level. Let's tell him to get the hell up. Like our F-35s are engaging these Iranian anti-ship ballistic missile batteries. So even if they have got the ability to reload, they certainly won't be reloading now. Yep, there goes one of them. Looks like they've unleashed some more harms against Iranian SAMs. Yep, they're going for the SA-5 site. There's plenty more Iranian boats still launching. So even though we've destroyed quite a few of them, there are still more Iranian fast attack craft. Which again is probably quite likely. We imagine Iran will stage fast attack craft ambushes. One of the issues the US Navy will have in this circumstance is that its ships can only maneuver in certain parts of the Straits of Hormuz, otherwise it gets too shallow. Certainly for like US nuclear powered submarines, they will struggle to operate covertly in the Strait of Hormuz. However, in deeper water they have a bigger advantage over most of the rest of the world's subs. I believe Iran has, if not one, then certainly several classes of midget submarine that they plan to use exclusively in the Strait of Hormuz. Again, for use against coalition ships and potentially submarines as well. Doesn't look like we've already managed to destroy a fair amount of the Iranian boats that just launched. Again, the good thing is there's coalitions that have a lot of firepower. Like if we have a look how many small diameter bombs we've unleashed, I'm sure it's going to be over 100. Certainly over 100 AMRAAMs. Almost 50 Meteors, yeah, almost 80 AGM-179s. Almost 40 Brimstones. A few dual mode Brimstones as well. Yep, over 200 Stormbreakers have been launched. Again, the good thing is the US does have quite a few of those. They are one of the cheaper warheads or cheaper weapons to manufacture. Although I think they're still circa $250,000. Now be slightly cheaper than that, might also be slightly more expensive. Whereas something like a JDAM, it's probably what, 20, 30 grand, maybe 40 at most. And most of that I believe is the guidance kit rather than the actual bomb itself. One of the reasons why I believe the US made quick sink, because it's a cheap way to sink vessels, especially if they're relatively unarmed. So if you need to launch a blockade against an enemy, they can sink cargo ships with them without having to use too many of your top tier munitions. But I'm sure they will actually come useful in circumstances where the enemy's SAM systems or air defences have been neutralised, so then you can release your quick sinks and hopefully sink enemy ships quickly and easily. So this Iranian ship is taking heavy damage. In one of the tests, this ship took a heck of a lot of weapon systems to kill it, but that's because a lot of our heavier weapons had already been used against other Iranian craft. In this case, if worst comes to worst, we have our Rapid Dragon C-17, which can finish it off. Looks like several of our A-10s are still airborne as well and still having weapon systems on board. So it must have been maybe an hour since hostilities started in game time, and it looks like the Strait of Hormuz is already looking a heck of a lot clearer than it was. Of course, the coalition have fired a heck of a lot of weaponry. Oh, he's carrying a mine detection system. It's like I believe it's like a laser one. I was wondering what he was doing, flying around over a minefield without any weapons. Looks like some of our helicopters are taking damage. Might be trying to get them out of there. Put an A-10s. Try and finish this vessel off. It certainly sounds like we're getting some missiles fired from somewhere. May have been that flanker firing the missiles at our helicopter. Now we have quite a few more guided weapons that have just been fired by some Iranian boats which have just launched from their port. Which isn't great because we don't have that many defensive SAMs left over here. Again, we might have to rely on fighters to shoot them down. Might be able to use these F-16s to do it. They do have what can only be described as a weapon designed for shooting down things like missiles, I believe. But it doesn't say you can use it against missiles. It says valid targets, aircraft and helicopters. Might be an issue with that because I'm sure this is a weapon that's literally designed against cruise missiles, down to be a cheap way of shooting them down. We'll have to see. One does have to wonder if the A-10s are able to shoot down these, but we can give it a go. I know that's not really in the A-10's job description, shooting down missiles. Right now we're going to throw everything we can at to try and just shoot down those missiles before they get too close to our ships. Looks like they're certainly firing their guns at them. Yes, it doesn't look like they can use their APKWS. It might just be something we need adding to the database at some point. As you can see how our ships are engaging with their CRAMs. HMS Lancaster is out of missiles, so it's having to resort to guns. Isn't good. Yep, it's been heavily damaged now. Entirely possible that our other ships are also going to be damaged or destroyed. Sometimes you can use the... Too late to have those. Sometimes you can use the Hellfires against missiles. Fortunately, it does look like we have lost certainly two what you class as decent surface competence there. The whether or not you class the LCS as one is somewhat debatable. But yeah, that's 3 extra vessels destroyed, which isn't a great showing. And that's the problem, is if you fire off all your SAMs too early on. So we can't get some more fighters into the air. Yes, I'm not sure why our aircraft aren't launching. They should have been. Very strange. Maybe with those aircraft in the air, we actually could have survived that attack, or at least shot down a few more of those weapons. As you can see here, we have a pair of F-22s returning to base, and also a pair of F-15 Echoes. He might be trying to shoot down this helicopter. And yep, although Iran has launched some more boats, they're certainly taking heavy casualties. Maybe we'll get him out of there. We do have here some more harpoons, which we may as well launch. Hopefully keeping them on the rails. We do want this ship destroying if we can get away with it. It's one of the Iran's bigger ones. And what we'll do, we'll send our drone after one of these instead. A bit more of a rocket-sized target. And we got some more US Marine Corps helicopters getting into the fight. I do wonder if this is a biological or an actual enemy submarine. We better find out if this is a submarine and we need to sink it ASAP. It's probably Iran's biggest threat against us now, is their submarines. We should manage to keep most of their boats at bay, and any more missiles that certainly as they're fired towards the most eastern force, they still have quite a few SAMs left. However, our western force, on the other hand, definitely doesn't have many left. It looks like HMS Lancaster is the only survivor of that, and it is heavily damaged. You can see here, I believe our Ollie Burke has started engaging some of the fast attack rifle with its 127mm cannon, as well as now the Stormbreakers are getting involved as well. Yeah, and these boats are certainly going to be atomized if a Stormbreaker hits one. Even a near miss may be enough to sink one in real life. And where this might be an enemy submarine. One thing we can do is potentially drop a torpedo near it, and if it does then attempt to speed and get away from the torpedo, we know it's a sub. Might be a little bit cheaty, but I believe that is a valid tactic in real life as well, certainly in a war zone when you've got a more free rules of engagement. Let's give it a go. Yep, in fact that is definitely an enemy submarine. It has just fired a torpedo. Luckily we were close enough to drop one on it. Looks like some of our ships are engaging. I can't see the submarine surviving for much longer, it must be said. The Iranian ship has, well, submarine has fired 2 torpedoes. Looks like they also fired some torpedoes over here as well. Not sure where our P8s are. And there's one. We can try and get them over there to try and sink it. Hopefully this Iranian sub is sunk shortly. There we are. I was going to say, surely an Iranian, like, dwarf submarine, midget submarine type thing can't take 2 torpedo hits. Yeah, it's definitely dead. And hopefully this Iranian ESB will be shortly as well. It's got 4 harpoons coming at it. Yep. That's enough to sink that, and then we may even be able to reorientate this one towards a different target. Or maybe not, maybe it's too close to their target in this case. In fairness, a harpoon against one of these targets would probably be overkill anyway. As you can see, our helicopters are going out to engage these vessels. It looks like our meteors are getting involved, as well as our F-35s. In fact, we can actually switch them to anti-shipping duty now. And one other thing we can do to keep our aircraft closer to the fight, and now that we've neutralized the enemy SAM systems, is move our refueling track a bit closer. Instead of having to go quite as far, they can refuel a little bit closer to the battle zone. Of course, I've certainly tried that in simulations in the past and then ended up losing some tankers, but luckily Iran doesn't have the long-range missiles that China and Russia do. Certainly not air-to-air missiles anyway. You can see here we have our Saudi Advanced Eagles. They're armed with, I believe it's 12 AMRAAMs each. And I don't think they can carry any sidewinders with that loadout. It is purely AMRAAM loadout. There we go, our P8s are getting involved. Some more sonar boys out. It's an SSK. Exactly what class it is, we don't yet know. It doesn't give me any better indication. Try and bring this back around again to find out where that sub has gone to. And now it looks like our Saudi Eagles are engaging what Iranian helicopters are left up. They're certainly running out of other targets. And we've found another potential submarine there. Probably isn't one, but we'll have to keep our eyes on it to make sure. Looks like some of these Iranian helicopters are getting blown out the sky. Unfortunately, I don't know if HMS Lancaster will be able to dodge this. It's already on its last legs anyway. It's fire, flooding. I'll be amazed if it does, but you never know. Might get lucky. Now, where this Iranian submarine's disappeared off to. And hopefully that's just some fish or shrimp or something, because that's far too close to our forces for comfort. Yep, looks like some more torpedoes have been launched. Got to be an Iranian submarine around here somewhere. And we do know that ASW in littoral waters is rather difficult, where it's shallow and there's all kinds of interference with sonar systems. We're using both active and passive sonar buoys, and still haven't got any joy. Not for the last 6 minutes, which is strange. Let's try and close up some of the gaps where it could possibly be. Good thing is the P8s do carry plenty of sonar buoys and also a good amount of torpedoes. This Iranian sub is suddenly being very sneaky. Oh, looks like we may have got another hit on it. Looks like there are some more Iranian fast attack craft moving, and these ones are doing 45 knots. It's time for our A-10s to get involved. Bring in the hogs. Whereas our Saudi F-15s are off to go and hit the tanker. Just as the Iranian flankers take off as well. I might have to turn them around. Bring them back into the fight. Luckily, it does look like our F-35s are getting involved as well. Submarine is being very difficult to detect. We've got another hit on it. But it's actually coming from the HMS Lancaster's one rather than the sonar buoys, which is very strange. Yeah, looks like we got a torpedo on it at least. Our A-10s have just deployed their... Someone has just deployed their cluster bombs. I believe it was the A-10s, yes. I'm not sure if the cluster bombs actually did anything against those fast attack craft. I don't believe so. Somehow HMS Lancaster's still alive. Don't really know how in this case, but we'll take it. There we go, they're engaging with their rockets. These gunboats are a little bit larger than some of their other fast attack craft, so they're taking a few more hits, but they will still be destroyed, I'm sure. But the Iranians have even launched some more boats now, but those are small ones. I reckon this Iranian sub really is like a black hole. It's being very difficult to detect. There goes HMS Lancaster, unfortunately. Look, our Rapid Dragon C-17 is in the fight. And also our AC-130's arrived with the laser tech on board. Let's bring him a bit closer to the action. Make sure he will engage as well. Yeah, shouldn't have a problem engaging. Like only one of our mine sweepers has survived at the moment. I don't think I've ever known such a difficult to detect submarine as this one. We literally keep getting beads on it and then it disappears. Even our torpedo can't find it. We literally should have sonar buoys on its head right now, and we don't. How strange. If I was on the P8 Wetman, I'd be very disappointed right now. Still no hit on it. About to use God Eye mode and find out exactly where this sub is. Ah, there it is. Yeah. It is going very slow. But it is literally under our sonar buoys. You'd like to think they could detect it, but apparently not. And the Iranians certainly have one submarine that's difficult to detect. Good thing is they don't have much else in the way of firepower left, and all their other stuff is getting sunk right now. Most of their fast attack craft are at the bottom of the Persian Gulf. And our AC-130 should put the rest of them there. Looks like HMS Dragon took some hits as well as... Oh wow, yeah, we've actually taken quite a bit of damage there. Not entirely sure what caused it. Yeah, this is the problem when you start running out of SAMs, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was actually torpedoes that did that. Yes. Right. So this component's back online there. Doesn't say what caused the damage. Oh, here we are. HMS Dragon armor penetrated. Oh, it was an anti-ship missile that hit it. And then... Yes, it was anti-ship missiles that hit both of them. It's rather disappointing that they... I mean, I know HMS Dragon didn't have any missiles, but at least thought the Arleigh Burke class may have been able to defend itself. But no, it looks like they were out of SAMs altogether. And unfortunately the C-Rams don't have a very long range, so they might not have been able to engage. Well, I think it's time to speed up the simulation now. We're getting to the point where there's not much in. In fact, there you go. Now you see our AC-130 is just engaged with its laser weapons, destroying multiple Iranian fast attack craft. And very soon it should be able to finish off the rest of them. May as well send those F-16s back home, and the F-35s. The A-10s can stay around a bit longer. I'm sure they can do some damage. Make sure they will actually engage land targets now, because there's no point in just keeping them to attack ships. Expand our area of operation. Good thing is that those Iranian missile batteries that are left certainly don't have any missiles left, or almost certainly don't, so they're a lot less of a threat. If we can't launch a torpedo there, try and flush this sub out. Oh, there goes a laser. Although it looks like they did manage to shoot down one of our helicopters. But it won't last much longer. 150 kilowatt laser versus a boat. I mean, these boats are certainly not big enough to survive too many hits off them, you'd like to think. Just to find another enemy marine somewhere. Or maybe not. Or they just found another torpedo in roughly the same area they've already tried. And launch another one. There's literally an Iranian submarine right there at 206 feet, literally on, must be like this, the bottom of this, must be very close to the bottom there. We just can't seem to get a hit on him with our sonobuoys. Very strange. But these Iranian ships are a little bit more durable, so they're taking a few more hits, but they are getting heavily damaged, slowly but surely. I wonder if we can use the 105. Yeah, we're a little bit too out of range for that. There we are, now he's engaging some of the smaller ships where the laser is more effective against. And we'll get our helicopters out of here if they're not carrying many missiles. The guns probably aren't going to do too much against them. There we go. That's pretty much the most of the Iranian fast attack craft they've just launched that were destroyed. What are these aircraft doing? So our forces are, again, definitely taking a bit of damage here, unfortunately, which I would have preferred to have avoided. I mean, I have done a few test runs on this, and some runs that I've taken worse damage, some I've taken less, so this is probably about a good average, really. So our E-10s are clearing out some of the SSMs and SAMs which are left. Should also use their cannon as well. Oh, there's an Iranian flanker there. Like he's launching missiles at possibly our F-16. See if we can send our F-35s after him. So he's also fired at our Hercules. Hopefully, the laser should shoot it down, yes. Looks like several more Iranian aircraft will get airborne. See if we can't get some fighters up to shoot them down. Right, here we go. You can see quite a lot of fighters are now racing into the battle to try and shoot these Iranian aircraft down. Oh. Thank goodness the Hercules didn't get shot down. Or our gunship. Yeah, it looks like it was jammed. Thankfully. One thing that I'm not sure about is if Russia provided Iran with R-77 adders with those flankers. It's entirely possible they did. It's also possible they didn't, because Russia might need them all to fight Ukraine with. So who knows? I might be able to research that more at some point, but certainly in the Command Modern Operations database, it does provide them with the R-77 flanker, R-77 adder missiles. Here we go, our F-22s are wanting to get involved. They're after a flanker kill. Hopefully the AIM-260s will manage that. And we've also got our F-35Bs coming in. Again, hopefully these flankers have met their match here. I don't think they'll even be able to land without getting shot down. There we go, there's one flanker down. Two flankers down, excellent. And now we're at the point where there really isn't much left for our forces to destroy. The Strait of Hormuz is pretty clear. Losses were heavier than we would like. Certainly we've fired off masses of SAMs and other munitions. But the Iranians have been cleared out. We'll have a look what our scores were. We did get a minor victory. As you can see here, we did lose quite a few ships though. We lost two F-35s, which is probably on the more surprising side, but certainly one of them was right at the very start of the scenario where everything's all mixed in together, so probably not a huge surprise there. Or, you know, it's always inevitable you're going to lose some aircraft in that kind of melee. And then we also have quite a few ship losses that happened towards the end when our forces were running out of SAMs. You can see the ridiculous amount of munitions we've fired here. 60 Meteors, almost 40 of the older Charlie 7 models of AMRAAM, which I believe only the Saudis are carrying in this scenario. It shows that we also managed to get to close range quite a lot, because there's quite a lot of X-ray sidewinders have been fired, and also I believe I saw ASRAAMs as well. Yeah, there you are, 16 ASRAAMs have also been fired, so again, it shows how many short range weapons were used. Dozens and dozens of enhanced Sea Sparrows, as well as SM-3s to shoot down the anti-ship ballistic missiles, and the the SM6 Block 1s. Brimstone certainly came in useful against the enemy surface craft, along with spears. Quite a few of those have been fired. And the lasers definitely came in useful towards the end as well, helped finish them off. But I suppose what came down to doing most of the killing near the start, certainly the Brimstone 2 dual modes were used quite heavily, as well as just guns as well, and some of the older Brimstones as well. And Stormbreakers you've got, I think, were probably the most MVP weapon in this. We've fired almost 300 of them, and they were useful against both land and surface targets. I mean, just looking here, you can see plenty of Iranian fast attack craft have been destroyed. We've also shot down a fair amount of their drones and aircraft. Their SA-20 was thankfully destroyed, hopefully before it could do too much damage. We did only manage to shoot down 2 Tomcats. I believe they must have a few survivors. And we did manage to shoot down 5 flankers. They might have 1 or 2 of those left at this airbase. You can just see how many missiles Iran fired though. It was a ridiculous amount. There's almost 100 anti-ship missiles just there, and that's, in fact, when you add those together, that's already over 120 missiles. Add another 16 to that, another 24. That's at least 150. By the time you add these ones in, you're probably getting closer to 200. So yeah, it's entirely possible Iran fired over 200 anti-ship missiles out of there, which then doesn't make it all that surprising that some losses were taken. But I hope you enjoyed this scenario, and I hope that it's at least a kind of accurate representation of what may happen should hostilities commence in this part of the world. You're certainly going to see US-led coalition forces likely interacting with Iran. The most recent news suggests that potential US Marine Corps personnel or other armed forces or private security personnel may be put onto ships, certainly US-flagged cargo ships that travel through the Straits of Hormuz, to try and discourage Iran from attempting to seize or destroy those vessels. But if you did enjoy this video, please like and subscribe. What we will be doing is running through this scenario with a few more different units, including an enhanced modern battleship from the Command Modern Operations database. So we'll be seeing how a battleship, as well as some more unmanned surface vessels, can take on these Iranian vessels. Thank you for your time. And as I say, have a great day, and please do like and subscribe.